Welcome to the Business Spotlight. I'm Gary Crosby. I'm delighted to be here today with Fraser Gilbey. He's the co-founder of OneLink Media. Fraser, thanks for agreeing to spend some time with me today.
No worries at all, Gary. No, thank you for having me as well. It's a pleasure to obviously feature.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to hearing your business story. So let's start with a little bit of context. First of all, just tell us a little bit about OneLink.
Yeah, so obviously my name is Fraser. I'm the strategy director here at OneLink and one of the co-founders as well. And OneLink Media is a performance marketing agency for D2C e-commerce brands. So we really focus on working with direct-to-consumer brands in the e-commerce space. So the performance marketing services that we primarily offer are really sort of pay-per-click advertising, anything sort of paid media based, just like Google advertising. We also do a lot of organic, so which is sort of SEO focused, climbing up Google search rankings. And then we also have a bit of a design and development division to the business. So we can also build e-commerce stores and design them. And then finally, we've got a bit of a production side of the business where we focus on the content production. So your content writing for your websites, sort of your blogging. And then we've just started to venture off more into video and 2D animation. So work with a lot of third sector organizations really on the animation side of the business. But yeah, roughly been going for 3 years now. So it was actually our third birthday in May it was. So yeah, celebrating 3 years of business. So yeah, and been quite a journey really to date. A lot of hard work along the way and sort of a little bit of luck as well with clients, but nonetheless wouldn't have got there without the hard work.
Well, I definitely want to explore that with you, Fraser, because that's where the lessons come out. And what we're doing is we're creating some really good lessons for other business owners as well. But just thinking about the sector that you're operating in at the minute, something popped into my head as you were talking there about the kind of way that people do e-commerce these days. And some people have got their own e-commerce website set up. There are lots of people who are selling on Wayfair, on Etsy. You can sell on B&Q now, and they've got these kind of things. Do you work in that area as well with the optimization of channels and getting good response rate and conversion rate from those?
Yeah, so we primarily do all forms of paid media really. So predominantly a lot of our clientele is Google Ads based because it's obviously where the demand really is. And the good thing with Google Ads is that users are actively searching for your offering. So it's not like you're pushing your offering in front of someone. You're just merely being in the right place at the right time for the right search. So yeah, predominantly our offering is Google Ads based, but really with the D2C sector, obviously you've got big players in the space like Amazon and eBay as well. So yeah, we do your Amazon advertising and things like that. But in my experience, most recently, the shift has been more so towards obviously working on your own website and not having to rely so much on these sort of like third-party suppliers, really, like Amazon, that obviously do the fulfillment and things like that. So yeah, a lot of our work is based Shopify, Magento, obviously WooCommerce and things like that.
Yeah. So I'm thinking there about the challenge for a business owner who might think, right, I've got this warehouse full of stuff to sell, and I might spend, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 grand on an e-commerce site of my own, but then I've got to drive traffic to that site.
Yeah, and that's
got to get eyeballs on it, whereas everyone's already looking at Etsy and Wayfair and Amazon and eBay and all the rest of them.
Yeah, no, and that's obviously the challenge as well. It is so. Yeah, in all honesty, it's often the missing piece of the jigsaw that I find with a lot of startup e-commerce brands. So they obviously focus really heavily on the design and development of the website, but then really sort of neglect the end of the spectrum, which is, okay, well, how do I now acquire new customers? Because obviously the beauty of it is that, yes, you can be a brand on Amazon and platforms like so, but it's a really crowded market on the likes of an Amazon, and you've always got sort of competing products as well. So there's a real emphasis, I suppose, when launching an e-commerce is really getting it into the digital ecosystem. So making sure that you're driving awareness so that people actually want to buy from your brand, and it's a brand that they can like. And then secondly as well is using your website as a key acquisition touch point. So really it's designed to make sale, it is. And that's really the emphasis of our work that we do at OneLink. So we try not to focus on what I call often is like vanity metrics. So things like, oh, your impressions went up a lot, and your average rank jumped from 27 to 15, but it doesn't really mean an awful lot to your average business owner. That so we try and really just speak commercially. So it's always about return on investment, because ultimately our customers pay us a nice sum of fees, really, and ultimately we've got to get a return for that, because if we don't, then the honest reality is that our contracts would be pretty short-lived. So it's a mutually beneficial agreement, I always think, a performance marketing retainer is, because ultimately if we don't get our clients' performance, then ultimately they have no reason to work for us. So it's a real focus on really improving your business revenue, really. And we're really good at in the e-commerce angle as well, because obviously it leans itself so well to so many different channels like organic, paid, and social.
Interesting. So there's some more things I want to explore there, but we'll do them as we go through, because I want to take you back now a few years, just out of uni and thinking about what comes next. And suddenly you're in this situation and there's an opportunity there. What was the moment for you when you had that kind of entrepreneurial spark and you just went, right, you know what? I'm not getting a job. I'm starting a business.
So, I mean, I suppose I've always been relatively entrepreneurial from a young age. So the first opportunity that I had to obviously go out and get a job and make some money, really, I did. So done first job was sort of like a paper round at like the age of 13 before school, going out in the snow and delivering endless amounts of papers, and then sort of scaling up into a shop role, and then sort of went into retail and then university, and had a job all throughout university as well. And so I've always been relatively entrepreneurial in the sense of the just wanting to be better and really just drive forward, really, in terms of like jobs from an early age. And then when I was at university, I obviously was studying marketing, and really enjoyed the digital marketing element of it. So I only had in my final year, I had the option to do more digital marketing, which I chose because it was the thing that I enjoyed the most. And that was where I really started to sort of hear about SEO and pay-per-click advertising, and it sort of just got my brain sort of clicking a little bit and thinking, hang on a sec, this sounds like really good for business. And my tutors who were really educating me about it didn't seem to know an awful lot. And then I was sort of going away and doing my research and thinking, wow, like this seems like a real good opportunity here. So the second I left university, so I had a real good time at university and graduated with a first, which was brilliant.
Awesome.
And then went straight into agency, really. So just worked in a local Peterborough agency, sort of honed my skills early there for a year. And then I was fortunate enough to join a very big and large agency, which was, well, one of the largest search agencies in the UK. So got to work on some amazing brands, like household brands and like high street brands as well, where I really then got the love for what I was doing and thought, wow, the work that I'm deploying on these websites is obviously generating considerable sums of revenue. And that really sort of excited me in the sense that the work that I was doing was genuinely having a good benefit to these brands that I was working with.
Sure, yeah.
And then, and that's really where OneLink was born from, is sort of pain points working at past agencies and not getting enough results, and just subsequently thought that I'd I'd like to freelance more, and work with local businesses offering what I do day to day at an agency.
Yeah.
And then then obviously luckily met James and Ben along the way as well. And then that was really where OneLink was born from.
Interesting. And so 3 years now in business, if you were to look back across those 3 years, what would you say was the main success in that period?
Yeah, there's been lots of successes along the way. It's really hard to pinpoint it down to one success. In all honesty, it's been a bit of a roller coaster. In all honesty, and I'm sure every business owner can say that, is that on one month you're on sort of cloud nine with amazing sales, and then the next month you have a few hiccups along the way, and it's like,
I see that a lot. Yeah,
and it's like the world's ending. So I suppose the real success story for us was early on, winning a high street clothing brand. So we was pretty fortunate in the sense of that we had a local sort of like high street clothing retailer based in Peterborough that approached us because they were having some problems essentially with organic performance. And that was our first real break, in all honesty, of getting a good client into the agency that obviously then allowed us to grow with the revenue that gave us. So fortunately enough, they approached us, but ultimately we wouldn't have won the contract without the hard work that went with it. So I mean, you can say it's very fortunate in one sense, but in another sense, you don't obviously win those contracts without having the proof in the pudding almost. So
you make your own luck, Fraser, for sure.
So we've worked hard to get there, and really just grown from strength to strength organically to date. One of the big successes was obviously getting a team in the business, where obviously me, James and Ben, the other two co-founders, can start to really manage the ship and steer it to where we want to get to next now. So we're fortunate enough to have an organic team and a paid team. We've also got Chris, who helps us out with design, and then we've got a developer as well that we're just trying to scale up now. So we've got all of the right ingredients, and it's just about really building more and more of it really now, and winning better and bigger clients along the way.
Yeah, of course. But those little, the initial successes can stay with you for a long time. I'm just wondering about, flipping the coin and deciding that actually there's also been some challenges. You said it was a roller coaster. What have been the biggest challenges for the whole company really as a startup in the last 3 years?
Yeah. So I think one of the initial challenges is that because we was a COVID-born business, initially when we started trading, all we knew was obviously operating in COVID, which is pretty quick fire, a lot of video calls, and you could almost have a pitch within an hour, and then you could go back to doing your work. So we was probably operating at the start with more scale than what we should have been able to, because when COVID obviously went back to a bit of normality and you could see people again, obviously our pitches were then in person. Our client meets, instead of being so much on video call, then become in person again. And we immediately realized that we've actually just lost majority of our resource just through going back into normality, really. So it really, COVID allowed us to have more resource in the business than what we should have really in terms of time, which obviously allowed us to deliver more, win more business, and so on. That was one of the challenges, and then obviously realized we need to get a team and just to help out and things like that. And I think one of the hardest challenges is that recruitment piece, really. It's making sure that the people that ultimately do join OneLink really believe in the end goal and the end destination and where we want to get to.
So how do you?
That's one of the hardest parts.
Yeah. So how do you, as a leadership group, you and Ben and James and your there as the main founders of the business, if you like. How do you create that vision? How do you share it with the team, and then how do you recruit against it?
Yeah, so I mean, it's quite funny really, because it's something that we've actually worked on for a very long time, and from very early on, because we always saw the agency being bigger than obviously the founders. And really, to be successful, you need a team that believe in where you're trying to get to. So from very early on, we worked on our positioning as an agency, and really why we're different to your normal agency. And really what we came up with is that from working in bigger agencies, some of our biggest pain points is that clients ultimately don't get direct access to experts. So you often get sort of a lot of account management and things like that can get in the way of performance. So our positioning early on was that our clients have direct access to performance experts, which really give our clients results at speed, quicker results than the norm. So we really nailed our positioning from the offset. And we figured out quite early on that we wanted to be a performance marketing agency in the e-commerce space, focusing on D2C customers. And I think when we're obviously talking to potential candidates, they really can buy into that, because we're only really recruiting for channel experts, we are, as a business. So yeah, they really buy into that sort of the setting and the foundation of OneLink. And really we genuinely believe as a collective as well that we can be one of the UK's leading e-commerce agencies. So I think, the fact that myself, James and Ben are all very aligned on that journey. And if you asked us sort of independently, we all virtually say the same answer, which is quite a hard balance to achieve. So it's I think that's why we've been relatively successful, is really focusing on who we are and what we want to be, and then making sure that the people that join also believe in that too, because that's our sort of superpower, really.
I was going to ask you about that, because of course you can have a great vision and you can create a great culture in the organization, but as you start to bring people in, then obviously they will impact on both, if you like. When you're recruiting, what are you looking out for? What are the qualities that you need from team members?
So I mean, it's a really good question again, in all honesty, because sort of as mentioned, the recruitment piece is incredibly difficult. So we're quite lucky in the sense that we work with a really good recruitment partner who understands our business as well. So it's very, very lean, the people that get presented to us, because we're pretty particular on what we require as a business. And really we need experts that are going to fit within our brand. So there's no such thing in the company as sort of due to seniority, like that's your answer and that's it. It's always best answer in the room wins.
Nice.
And we've got a nice, quite relaxed culture, really, where as a business we sell very professional services for very good fees, but a good bit of feedback we always get from our customers is that it's very sort of like relaxing in the sense of that we're easy to work with, and we're a listening ear, and we just get on with it as well. So I think working with agencies and big customers, there's always sometimes a little bit of a battle between the two. There can be, and we ultimately say we're here to work with you and be a part of your team. So our team players need to really encompass that too. So I mean, everyone at OneLink now is like nice and pleasant, obviously what you're looking for.
Good. That's good.
So it's all good, in all honesty.
I was thinking about the challenge between, you said the first thing you said in answer to that question was we need experts, But of course, what makes a business work together really well is the attitudes of the people. And I do remember having an IT company client a few years ago
Yeah.
who said, these are our experts, but we don't let them speak to the clients, so because they're experts, and then that's what they're good at. And I was wondering whether or not you find people with a brilliant attitude and you match the skills to that, or you bring people in who might need a bit of training to bring them up, but at the initial point, at least, they've got a fantastic attitude. How do you balance that out?
Yeah, and I think that's why our recruitment is so difficult, in the sense of that, because we're obviously a relatively young business and we're trying to grow as quick as possible, really, and as safe as possible. It's actually really hard to find that candidate, because as a business, we can't actually really afford at the moment, say, to sort of like train and develop, just because of the speed of which the company's growing. So we're actually trying to look for that perfect individual, which makes it really difficult, because we obviously, the attitude is so essential. It is, because often when you have sort of like really, really intelligent individuals that are incredibly good at what they do, they often do lack the attitude and struggle to integrate because they're so good at what they do. So what we look for is like a real nice balance of that, where ultimately you've got to be an expert at what we do, because that's our positioning. And that's sort of our differentiator in the market, is that clients have direct access to experts. So if we didn't hire experts, then it's not very in line with what we're saying here.
It wouldn't work.
No. So and then that second piece is really difficult to get right. And I mean, our most recent recruitment process for our head of paid is, I sort of spoke from a very leaned down list of 10 plus people initially. I think it was like 10 to 12 initially, then sort of cut that list down to 6 and then to 4, and then had in-person interviews with all 4 in the format of an activity, where really got to, well, hopefully learn them a little bit through that activity as well. So there's an emphasis on a real thorough recruitment process. And trying to get that balance really between expert and attitude. But it's quite difficult, which is I suppose why, as a business recently, we've gone to being sort of like flexible working. So we do hybrid, so 2 days in the office, 3 days out, and it's really allowed our recruitment field to go further than just Cambridgeshire. So our new recruits from sort of Leeds way, and that really allows our talent pool to get wider all of a sudden.
So you've talked about growth. We've talked about the kind of people you want in the business. So what's going through my head now is, where are you taking the business in the next 3 or 4 years? What can we expect from OneLink?
So I suppose at the moment we're working really hard on a bit of a sort of go-to-market and polishing it off. So we're going to be investing a lot of our sort of like previous years' hard work into sort of a nice big go-to-market sort of statement, where we're really going to focus on e-commerce brands in that D2C space. So we're doing a fully fledged marketing plan, really. And the aim is to, in all honesty, be as large as possible, whether that's being a UK leader or venturing further afield throughout Europe, as we've got a few clients throughout Europe. Recently, hopefully going to be working in America as well with a few clients and few opportunities. So it's really just trying to grow our client base as big as possible in that e-commerce space, get our clients as amazing results, as big as what we can get, and really just nailing this marketing piece. I mean, it's quite funny, really, a marketing agency not marketing themselves too well. It's like a plumber and his tap, you could always say. It is. Went into a plumber's house, they'd probably have a leaky tap. But so it's really just focused on, now that we've worked hard to get where we are as a business, and we've got a brilliant team in house that are experts at what they do. It's now about really marketing ourselves to the UK really, and sort of saying that we're here to stay now and really sort of be as big as we can in the space really, and prove to everyone that we're amazing at what we do as well.
One of the things I like to do with my clients is to, set those kind of goals and think about the future in that sort of way. And, as big as possible is a kind of a goal, but it'll be a difficult one because you might not know when you've got to be as big as you want to be. But the question that I've got then is, which is another good exercise to do, is when you look forward like that, what kind of challenges or obstacles can you see to the growth that you've decided to go for?
Yeah. So I mean, we've set our big, hairy, audacious goal.
All right.
As well. So that's all planned and set out, and it's really like you say, the building blocks as to how you achieve that. There's obviously the first part is sales. It is, and how do you overcome your sales challenges, making sure that you've got a lucrative pipe at all times over a certain deal value. Is crucial to the growth, and making sure that you're always topping that up and never letting it get low. That's one of the biggest challenges as a business we have for the now, because historically, to get where we are today, it's been very organic and sort of run on the basis of, look, as long as we do a really good job for our customers and improve their business performance with revenue, then network is your sort of like net worth and so on, and they should refer us. And that has worked very well to date and still does work very well for us.
Good policy.
But then there's almost, how do you get to the next level of where you don't have to rely on networks and referrals to get work? So that's where that marketing piece comes in really, where we're doing the big go-to-market, where we're going to get more material out there for our ideal customer, and educate them and inform them, and then hopefully turn them into really sales qualified leads, and that can be convertible. And I think the second challenge to growth again is obviously the recruitment piece that we've touched on. It's so hard to get that high caliber talent, which is why, as a business, sort of briefly touched on it, which is why we went to that flexible work model where there's not an expectation to be in the office, and that really just broadens our whole. Well, we don't have to rely on just Cambridgeshire. Really, we can go sort of nationwide, top to bottom. So the recruitment piece, and then then the third challenge is obviously, I think it's just growing as a business. And that's equally challenging, because it's pretty funny really as a founder, is that your role's always changing, and you almost every quarter just need to have a reality check with yourself to go, how has my role changed over the last 3 months, and have I brought people into the business now that can really take them reins as the expert, and take that over. And that's probably something that we only experienced until we got smacked in the face with it, was really scaling and getting a team, and how when you do hand over those reins, how do you put process in place, how do you put guidelines in place, so that things are still ultimately delivered to what the customers are used to, with little to no disruption. That was one of the most difficult parts. And not necessarily speaking to customers so much, like the current customers, because you're focused on obviously getting new business and things like that. So in the last 3 years, my role's changed tremendously over the time it has. I mean, at the minute, some days it's recruitment, it's then strategy, it's then sales, it's still working for clients. So it's a real mixed bag really. And I think that's a challenging part of growth, is overcoming that and making sure that you can carry on that trajectory really, where there's no sort of hiccups along the road that halt sales, where you've got to sort of clean things up internally and whatnot. They're probably the three I'd say, is sales, recruitment, and the growth then that comes with it.
I think the biggest casualty of growth always, that's quite definitive, isn't it? Most of the time, the biggest casualty with growth is customer service. So the people that
Absolutely.
you've worked with for a very long time and who love you and would always bring their business to you and would never go anywhere else other than OneLink start to notice the fact that they don't always get to talk to the person that they want to, or get the speed of service that they want to, because actually, as you go to market and create this great desire for people to come and work with OneLink, serving them starts then to become different to how it was when you first started. And I think that is a danger which you've pointed to, and it's going to be really important.
I think you're so right, Gary, in that statement, because obviously being a service-based business is people buying from people.
Yeah.
It's not like we're selling a product here and they fall in love with the product. Our customers ultimately at the start worked with OneLink because they liked us, the founders, as individuals, and of course they had that trust with us, and they could obviously see from the offset that I'd like to work with these guys because I do believe that they can improve my online performance. So yeah, that was the challenge. And then obviously when you bring new team members in and then customers do lose the contact with you, it's really difficult how you navigate your way through that, because ultimately there does come a point in time where in order for you to grow, you do have to sort of separate yourself a little bit away from that. But you've still got to be close enough to the customer that they do know that you are there and you are involved, especially for the really big ones. So our biggest customers at OneLink, I'm still sort of like the main account lead. And that's the way it really has to be, because the customer is so important to our business, and it's so sort of crucial with my involvement. I've got to. But yeah, it's the hardest part really. But I suppose with the growth and getting a specialist team in place, one thing I am really confident at OneLink is that for any new customer leads that we get through, our team are more than capable and more than appropriate of making that instant relationship really, and it's them that they'd like to work with, not necessarily me.
That makes sense.
So, yeah, I think that's a real good point there.
Good.
Gary. It's something that's come up a fair few times over the few years.
I bet. Fraser, I could talk for hours about this, but time is against us, unfortunately. But I do want to give you the opportunity just to finish off. And is there anything that you've got coming up in terms of new services or things that you want to share with the audience, just so they know exactly where you're going in the next few months?
Yeah, so I suppose the big thing that OneLink's up to is that we've just launched a bit of a rebrand. So we've changed our branding, really. So we used to have like a link, and now it's all about a performance circle that you can see in the background there. So yeah, we've just released the new branding. We're doing the go-to-market, so definitely keep your eyes peeled for sort of like marketing-based information, especially in the e-commerce space. And if you're D2C based, there's going to be an abundance of material that the team's producing. So whether that's like video, long-form guides, free giveaways and templates for internal marketing teams, they're all on the horizon. And then, finally, it's just growth, really. So hopefully in the local area, people will be seeing more of us and sort of be sort of looking at us as a performance agency that they really want to work with.
Well, look, I wish you all the best on that journey, because it is a great story to see the growth happening. And you've only been in business for a couple of years. To hear that vision laid out so clearly is really important too. Lots of people forget to do that, and they don't really know what their big, hairy, audacious goal is, as you said earlier on. But Fraser, thank you very much indeed. I've loved talking to you. It's been a real insight into you and your business. And I want to say thanks again for joining me on the Business Spotlight. No
worries at all, Gary. And obviously, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure, obviously, to have the half an hour together. And I'm sure we'll hopefully meet up as well again in the not so near future and carry on the chat, because it's been enjoyable. And it'd be good to do it again sometime.